Did you tell the police the truth when they first questioned you?
Yes, I did. But they didn't believe me.
Now, one more thing, Kenneth. Very important thing.
If you're talking about the truth, Arnold, it is important. But difficult to recognize it when you use it the way you do. I suppose I love you still. In my unreasoning way. But what is the truth concerning us? How much of it did you manage to obscure when we talked a month ago?
Well, any marriage is apt to spring a small leak sometime. Trouble is, you can't save the boat by throwing away the oars. Why don't we just try to be sensible?
Sensible? Arnold, you talk like a man who's being nagged by his wife for staying out too often with the boys or betting the grocery money on a horse. I'm talking about what's happened to our marriage. How about the woman you've been seeing?
But that's done with.
Why did it happen, Arnold?
I don't suppose I can really say. Vanity of the species, I guess. Man's married for 10 years. He suddenly finds himself admired, and he's flattered. At least for a little while, he can feel like he's the king of the barnyard. Oh, Naomi, I'm really sorry. That girl doesn't mean anything to me. I told you, it's over, finished.
How can I know that, Arnold?
I don't suppose you can. There really isn't anything to endorse a good intention, is there? Nothing except the 10 years we've already had. Well, they're pretty good collateral, aren't they? Wouldn't you bet on those again? Wouldn't you?
Oh, please. Arnold, don't.
Oh, that's Carmody.
This late?
Yes, he's been investigating that surprise witness they think they're going to spring on us in the hit-and-run case next month. Going to cost that boy's father a lot of money.
Oh, Arnold. Oh, good evening, Mrs. Shawn. Hope I didn't keep anybody up.
It's quite all right, I'm sure. Arnold?
I think Al and I will be busy for a while, dear. You want a drink, Al?
Yeah, sure. Bourbon if you got it. I always fly better with fuel in the tank, Mrs. Shawn, if you know what I mean.
I'll get it.
Thanks, dear.
Now, this witness, Arnold, he won't be no bed of lilacs. He's a volunteer, one of those I will do my best, sir, kind of good citizens.
What's his name?
Babcock. Henry Babcock.
Uh-huh. And he's going to be a tough one, huh?
This Henry Babcock's prepared to testify that when young Jerome's pretty sports car knocked a nice old lady looser than a beanbag and as dead as a pork chop, the traffic light was against him.
And we can't deny that he hit Mrs. Thompson because the police traced the car to the garage where he'd taken it to be repaired.
I got a complete rundown on Babcock, Arnold, like you wanted. Seems he's addicted to bursts of good citizenship.
Oh. Well, I haven't seen a model citizen yet I couldn't hang crepe on.
Well, it's going to be expensive.
It usually is. So start digging up everything you can find on him from the day he was christened to the moment he walks into that courtroom.
Oh, Mr. Carmody.
Huh? Oh, thank you.
I call Henry Babcock.
What do you think about it, Dad?
I don't know what to think. Shawn could make an all-American boy out of you. He'd probably turn this poor clown into a toad. I'm paying him enough.
The witness has already been sworn. You may be seated, Mr. Babcock.
Mr. Babcock, you've previously testified under oath that you saw my client's car drive heedlessly and illegally through a red light on Furness Road and strike Mrs. Agnes Thompson, the deceased. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you further testified that you saw my client back his car for approximately 50 yards, take one callous look at the body, and then drive on. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
Thank you, Mr. Babcock. It's a help to me to have you reaffirm these things. And if I were to believe what you may well have testified to in all good faith, I would wash my hands of the defendant now. I would have no other choice in the simple service of justice. Mr. Babcock, the prosecution assures us that you're a volunteer witness. I'm sure this was meant to imply that you have come forward through a highly developed sense of civic duty. People do that, you know. It's not my intention to quarrel with public spirit. However, it is my intention, as well as my duty, to remind this court and jury that there are people who will come forward for the sheer thrill and satisfaction of escaping from the frustrations of their own dull lives. This is not the pursuit of truth, Mr. Babcock, but a wild bid for personal attention.
I object, Your Honor.
Objection sustained. The line of questioning is improper, as counsel should be aware.
Your Honor, this man has made a solemn promise to tell the truth. It's not my intention to accuse him carelessly.
You've always had this talent for making the innocent seem guilty. Right or wrong, I've never succeeded in my arguments with you. And least of all last night.
Oh, I didn't think you'd be up so late.
Did you have a pleasant time?
Pleasant? I don't know, it's pretty much routine. Al Carmody had some new notes on this Henry Babcock, and I was late leaving the office, so I went over to see Dan Irwin. He got a legal action on that new magazine he's publishing.
You're a liar.
Hmm? Oh.
He went to that girl's apartment, the same girl you promised me so solemnly you'd never see again. I have absolute proof of it, Arnold, so don't bother lying to me anymore.
Oh, I hadn't realized I'd been that careless. Did you have professional help?
I didn't need any rubber-soled Al Carmody, if that's what you mean.
Well, don't you think you're being a little old-fashioned and prudish about this, dear?
Prudish? You don't really care, do you, Arnold?
Oh, I don't know. That's stating it a little severely.
Do
isn't
you
it?
care?
I didn't say. I merely said I thought your attitude old-fashioned, which is a polite way of saying ridiculous. Now, I have a full day in court tomorrow, Naomi, so if you don't mind...
Just wait a minute, Arnold. I saw her today.
Oh, you did? Well, she's attractive, isn't she? Now, will you excuse me?
Why did you marry me in the first
Well,
place?
you come off and I warned you,
Answer my
Naomi.
question.
Take
Why
it
did you ask
easy.
me? Why?
For a lot of reasons, practical and otherwise. You want me to list them for you?
All of them, everyone. Go on.
Well, for one thing, your father was an extremely influential man a dozen years ago, and he had a very attractive daughter, also a dozen years ago. Now, I think that combines the practical and the physical rather well, don't you? After all, it's been 10 long years since you were 25. And frankly, your type of sweet pea and assorted chocolate sentiments have never appealed to me. Does that explain it well enough for you?
I think so, Arnold.